significant size and scope to take this forward. You also know that every year the Government of India, through our ministry, it organizes a Pravasi Bharati Divas. And it's been 7 years now. We've had 8 of these programs. These are all held in New Delhi or in India, now in New Delhi. Previously they were held in Mumbai, Chennai, etc. And this event is calendarized. It's on the 7th to the 9th of January every year. And so on the calendars of NRIs, PIOs worldwide, we're hoping that these dates get marked as a day that they could possibly be in New Delhi and attend this networking event. This event does, of course, showcase Government of India's programs for India as a whole, and of course for NRIs and PIOs. And I'm hoping to see this fellowship up there maybe in a year or two, eventually. So that is one event which all of you should know about. We also have what we call the OIFC, the Overseas Indians Facilitation Center. This again is a public-private participation project. It's done by us in collaboration with CII, the Confederation of Indian Industry. And this is really a business-to-business or a business facilitation platform. It's again on the net. And this is more mature than the previous one I mentioned. It's been up for 2.5 years now. And the CII has been doing both the technology side as well as the business and facilitation side, since they're that kind of organization. It is worldwide. It has actually helped the CII, I'm told, to expand their overseas network. And they are present in about 60 countries today. And somebody here had mentioned in the previous session his interest in foreign policy. And well, this is our attempt at involving the private sector in projecting India's economic and business interests. I think that was it. Foreign policy? Sorry. Overseas. We use, our ministry uses the services of both the CII and the FICCI, the Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry. There are others also which we would like to work with, but these two organizations in particular, because they've been helping us with the Pravasi Bharati Divas, are now active in setting up permanent offices overseas. They already have offices in most of the developed countries, but they're now moving into Africa, into other Asian countries, of course, for business-to-business contacts, promoting Indian business overseas, promoting overseas businesses coming into India. And we work in coordination with them. Why I'm mentioning these PPP projects is that my take on the fellowship is that to make it successful, perhaps, the first ministries or government organizations or public sector undertakings where it could be introduced and where it could perhaps be most successful is offices or organizations of government which are actively in the public-private participation mode. Because that is where I think the interest in the private sector is higher, where information about the expertise available in the private sector is more appreciated, and therefore where I think this, the young experts or young professionals moving in would be more welcome and would have a friendlier atmosphere, a more enabling atmosphere to work. So that's my my initial remarks on this initiative, and I think it's really it's something which government needs to work on in collaboration with all of you and take forward very quickly.
Thank you for these.
Thank you for the opening comments. If I were to start with the first question, and then what we'll do is we'll open it up to the group. But let's say we had 2 years and we had 3 or 2 people, 2 or 3 people who, in some ways could become, part of the ministry. What sorts of things could they do over a couple of years for your ministry that could potentially be part of the fellowship? What sort of ideas would you have in terms of how you might use their energy, their ideas?
I was witness to the previous session, so I'm prepared for the whole knowledge. But I would again have some experience in public-private participation projects, of course in one state. What I would think is that if we were to select government organizations which are in mission mode, and the UID is one, and of course the UID is unique as was explained in the previous session, because not only is it in mission mode, it's also headed by a set of people, by a person who have much higher levels of expertise and skills than you would normally find in a government organization. So that makes it different. But there are, I would think, at least in every state, at least half a dozen organizations which you could identify as mission mode organizations, where from the top level there is a lot of interest in seeing success in whatever parameters you may want to measure it with. And it is those organizations where outside expertise would also be welcome, and where such expertise, I think, would be more successful. So as in the incubation phase, the program could identify these mission mode ministries or offices or organizations right to the district level where the young professionals could make an impact.
Perfect. One other question. What role could GYIPS and young Indians play with the ministry in a more sort of meaningful way? I mean, is there any specific thing that this group could do beyond just the fellowship? Is there something, I don't know whether there's a additional role they would have to help you in your mission?
Yes, definitely, but I think it will take a much longer conversation to get into that. But let me inform you that we are working actively with other global fora and organizations. There is this organization known as GOPIO, the Global Organization for People of Indian Origin. And they've been active now for 4 years, and they do a regional conference, a region in the sense of continent. They do a conference every year in one or the other continent of the world, where the Indian diaspora is prominent. And the last conference they had was in March this year. It was held in Durban, South Africa. And Durban happens to be a city with about 1 million people of Indian origin. And the Durbanites say that it is the largest number of Indians outside of India in any one city. And I'm told it was a very, I know it was a very successful convention they had. It was over 2 years. They invited people of Indian origin from all over the world. And they talked of all sorts of issues on identity of Indians in the diaspora, on culture, on business and economics and trade and investment into India, which is of great interest to us. So I'm sure there are lots of things that we can work on with GYIPS.
I think with that as an opening, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Singh. What I thought I might do, Anirudh, is call on you to talk to the group around sort of your ideas, the group's ideas on the whole fellowship program and what the structure is and how you're thinking about it. So, do you want to take over?
Yeah. Thank you. So I think what I would like to do is over the next 5 to 7 minutes, just give you an overview of the fellowship proposal. Some of which I'm sure that some of you have been able to read the basic proposal that we sent around a couple of days ago. But we'll go into a bit more detail on the fellowship, and then we can obviously have a discussion about your concerns, what excites you, and then obviously how they are having an impact, or both. And basically the people that we are looking at would be fellows would basically be selected from a wide range of academic and professional disciplines. So as we see here as well, we have lawyers, consultants, bankers, teachers, entrepreneurs, you name it. So I don't think there'll be any restriction on what your background or your discipline is. But what will be, I think, required and will bind all of these fellows together would be a commitment to, an aptitude for, and a clear interest in being involved in public policy and public management at both the central and state levels.